Hello, welcome to the Tuesday night stream. This is a LAN Tamer stream where we only talk about networking good bits. Glad to see everyone tonight. Hope you're doing good this Tuesday. You got past Monday, made it through Tuesday, so that's all good, right? Yeah, we're talking about QoS, of course. Today's going to be a vlog, no lab on stream tonight, just because of the man, a lot of reading I've been having to do today before I can lab again. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I did want to vlog a little bit about some things I've learned today. I did attend some, turns out, free training. There's a workshop. I think it's offered to corporate customers, though. I don't know that it's like a free anybody workshop. I'll find out about that, though. But it's a really good topic, though. Azure Site Recovery. I keep wanting to say manager because that's if you've worked on DR plans at all, whether that was a networking side or, and that's how I've been involved in the past, is typically with on-premise stuff. Like one data center to another, I'm involved in the networking side of things. But just due to the nature of the team I'm on now, I'm having to get more involved with some of the other data structure components. I'm having to widen my horizons a good bit. But yeah, I've been involved peripherally with VMware's SRM, Site Recovery Manager, as well as some other products that have been interesting to work on. One thing that some of the biggest fights I have been on the job, and when I say fights, I mean like battles over technical/political battles, has been over replication and bandwidth consumption. And, it's amazing. Depending on what kind of data you have, there's generally depending on the business you're in, whether you are an enterprise or you represent data of other customers that you're hosting, whatever the case may be, replication, off-site replication can be a challenge in terms of bandwidth and how much data you have that needs to be replicated. Sometimes people are just replicating virtual machines. They just need functionality at the other site, at the failover site or sites. When there is a disaster or a test. But if you've got a lot of data already, and in terms of databases or images or whatever the case may be, and you need to be able to recover that at another site, and replication can be a challenge depending on how much you have and how much bandwidth you allocate for. And that can be one of the biggest expenses. And, there's a lot of work sometimes that goes into throttling. Now, some of the software is better at throttling than it used to be. I remember a very popular software vendor, backup and recovery software vendor that I worked with, I'd say now about 5 or 6 years ago. And they had throttling features, and those throttling features did not work well. Like, it didn't know how to restrain itself. So, that's why QoS is important, right? Because not all software will behave the way it should on the network. But yeah, today it was interesting to kind of come into this workshop on Azure Site Recovery and kind of compare it to the features of VMware's SRM, Site Recovery Manager, for example. And it's a good product. I actually posted a screenshot just a minute ago in the Discord. I'll probably post this, share this on Instagram or something like that. But it's interesting. Like you can set up offsite recovery for you can go from on-premise, like physical servers, to Azure. You can go from like VMware servers to Azure. The product that you can install basically on a vSphere host. And you do Hyper-V, of course, a Hyper-V host, and the VMs that run on that host can be set up to replicate and also be recovered in Azure. And you can do, of course, Azure to Azure, Azure region to Azure, Azure region. This was after I did a lab in this workshop where we did I did a test failover from on-premise VMware to Azure. And then it ran successfully. The VM was running. This CentOS VM was running just fine. And then I did a test failover cleanup. It's got a little button you press. Okay. Did that run successfully? Document it. Go ahead and initiate cleanup. And so really cool. Yeah, it just does a cleanup for you. There's some automation there. That's where I think some of the potential advantages of Azure might be is the ability to automate, especially if you're already familiar with the automation tools in Azure. I know there are automation tools with VMware Site Recovery Manager, for example, and the other products, but when you can leverage like Azure Automation account to make like DNS changes, other things, stop and start services, you know, anyone who's familiar with DR exercises know that it's not just press one button. Well, you hope to get there, right? You hope that it gets there and that it all works, but it's continually a ongoing process typically because your environment changes. That's why you have to test often, right? But yeah, it's really cool to kind of go through that. And then the time I had, so I was labbing during the day on Azure Site Recovery. And then, of course, I had some time today. I did have a little time to do some study and potentially lab. But I saw that the next lab in the INE workbook is RED, Random Early Detection. And I needed to beef up on that before I hit the lab. So I remember the concepts from studying them for the written. But what I've done is I've gone back and I started reading this chapter today in the QoS exam guide, and it's really good. Good reviews. You know, there's some good charts in here, and so I've been generating some more note cards or flashcards. You know, like this one. What's the name of the configuration? So the max percentage of packet discards for RED and PD. Mark probability denominator, right? These are sort of written type questions, but they are good practice questions. I found, especially like 3-4 months from now, these cards come in really handy to help you continue to retain the concepts. The concepts are what is so important also, especially QoS, because the actual lines of configuration aren't many in comparison to like configuring DMVPN, but the concepts are much more complicated, I think. Anyway, so that is what I've been working on today. I've created, let's see how many new cards I've created today. Close it, no, we're gonna add this one. Close. So I've created 11 new ones just like in the last hour or so. So there are some good ones here. Like, for example, two window sizes used by TCP to determine the amount of data that can be sent before awaiting acknowledgement. So this random early detection, of course, gets a lot into the TCP mechanisms. And so there's been a good review of those. There are two window sizes. One is the receiver or receive window, also known as the advertised window, and that is determined by the receiver. The receiver sets that and adjusts that as it deems appropriate. But that is generally not the one that RED can work with. The other one is a congestion window, which is set by the sender. And the lower of the two windows is used, you know, depending at any one time. And that window is used to determine how many segments can be sent before acknowledgement needs to be received. And then there, of course, is a slow start process and the congestion avoidance process. A lot goes into, but it's good science, right? It's very good science for networking and some great concepts that we need. So create a lot of flashcards, and you know, depending on how far I get, there are, I think, 3 or 4 labs on this topic of RED. And let's see in the workbook here what we've got. Yeah, weighted random early detection, dynamic flows, and weighted random early detection, read with ECN. Cool. We should be able to fly through these. Traffic shaping, not sure about this one. GTS and class-based, weighted fair queuing. GRE tunnel shaping, maybe that's what that is. I like to look ahead sometimes on these, just give my mind. So here is a lab, and it says class-based GTS and CBWFQ. Now, it doesn't really tell you what GTS is. You will have to have watched the video, or you look ahead. So it says previously GTS was it. Bother telling me what GTS is? No, that's okay. You should already know that, I guess. Okay, part of the disparity sometimes of working with this particular workbook, but that's all right. We'll be sure to know what that is before we hit that lab. Sure, just throw around the acronyms. I'm a little bit of a stickler for acronyms. Like, don't throw me an acronym. Generic traffic shaping feature on a router. Okay. iOS QoS Solutions Configuration Guide. See, this is what I like. Fine, you can put GTS in your title. But this chapter is got a task configuring the GTS, generic traffic shaping feature on a router. Thank you, Cisco. So it's using the traffic shape command. All right, good deal. So yeah, it looks like there are 3 RED random early detection labs. So maybe tomorrow we'll be able to hit one of those, depending on how far we get on this chapter. So that's our map, folks. Not much more to it than that. Not much else to report today. Busy working. I looked at Twitter a little bit this morning. I just opened Discord. Not much to report on those fronts. I am going to post this tomorrow, which is from this weekend's work. And this is where I was funneling. I was spamming. You can see these large ping packets. So I was trying to emulate congestion on the iPerf lab. And I got this. I've never actually seen this before that I recall. Fragmentation reassembly time exceeded. I was like, yes. Sort of a denial of service, right? Kind of cool. Anyway, fun stuff. That's all I got tonight, folks. Thanks so much for stopping in. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Keep jamming. Let's all keep jamming on our labs, on our study. And TCP dumping, do you use ASR in production? So yeah, so we're learning about it. We're not using it yet. Right now, we're actually using another tool or combination of tools. But we're looking to move more workload into Azure. So we have like other, I'll call them on-prem sites that we use for DR testing and DR. But those are out of like hosted data centers, and we're looking to do more of that in Azure. So it's not a big footprint, For example, hey, thanks for the good bits there, Colonel Paddock. Good to see y'all. Great questions tonight. Appreciate the interactions. Yeah, so we're definitely looking at it. There are some other data replication tools that we're using right now for Azure, not necessarily ASR. One thing I'm always skeptical about, and this is just, and I try to be objective, but I was telling someone else in our study, in the lab today, I was like, previously, this is going back years, but previously, if you use the Microsoft product for your backups, you were inevitably facing a resume generating event, right? I've said that about a lot of Microsoft products, and that's been a lot of my experience in the past, and I know Azure is new, in some areas is behind Amazon. In some areas, I think it is ahead, especially on the development side. But and like integration, of course, with the Active Directory, they're way ahead, I think, on some of that stuff. But some of the other features that I've seen in Azure, I'm like, well, this is kind of like WordPad. It's not full featured. Yes, it's easy to deploy, easy to use, but what about the support? What about the, I'm always trying to be somewhat of a skeptic just based on past experience. But the ASR product looks pretty full-featured. And again, there are a lot of, I was just reading about one on Twitter earlier today. There are a lot of third-party, site recovery products that you can purchase in Azure. So it kind of leverages, rides on top of all those Azure features and has more of the, support and other third-party tools. But I don't know, the jury's still out. Probably typically what we'll do is, do a mock or, proof of concept, and then do like a smaller application and then test it and just, see, look at the cost, and then like anything else, determine, is this actually a good mature product or not? Jury's still out on that. I've been impressed so far with the capability, especially the integration with like VMware, where, it works hand in hand with vSphere. It will allow you to fail forward and fail back to other sites successfully. So I was not expecting to see that, and sure enough, it has the capabilities. So yeah, appreciate the question. Good stuff, folks. And I'll try to report. I know this is CCIE channel, but this is what there have been a lot of articles on this kind of thing where, with the cloud, traditional network engineers are having to learn, become more horizontal. And that is certainly the case for me. I'm living that right now, and I'm enjoying it, actually. So I'll continue to report some of those things too on this channel. But thanks so much for hanging out, folks. I'm going to get back to this chapter and try to refresh and rehearse some knowledge. Same here. Yeah, you're probably a number of you probably experiencing that as well currently. But thanks so much for hanging out, folks. I'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, here on the Land Tamer stream. Have a great night, folks.